So you had a 10-year apprenticeship, H, before you were appointed president. So you had a couple of years as VP before.
Yeah, I was VP Tony Marnie when Tony was president.
Yeah. So you've then been appointed as president, so 10 years into the club. Had you been a delegate by that stage?
Yeah, I took over being delegate from Dave Robb, I think in 05, 06, somewhere around there from memory.
Yeah, so you had 4 or 5 years.
As I think I was delegate with Dick, when Dick was treasurer of the sub-district. So, I've been delegate for, I think I'm in the 16th year as delegate, one of the delegates of the club with Nathan Barry, who's the other vice president. Yeah. But I think it's 15, 16 years.
Wow,
delegate,
that's quite remarkable. Putting up with Cricket Victoria and VSDCA.
There's certainly been some challenges and some changes since I first became delegate. You know, the $15,000 we used to get was reduced to $7,000 and then was reduced to $0. So that's talking before about just things that have changed. That's where that evolution of the importance of sponsorships really kicked off, because you just don't have that starting base of money to run with. You're starting from $0 and you've got to build it up yourself. So, which is why supporting the club is so important, and drink sales after the game and being back on the Thursday night for dinner and supporting social events and that sort of thing. It's all important.
And even the 1860 Club, it's brought another network to the club, which we need to utilise where we can for sponsorship and so on.
Absolutely, and it's again, the 1860 Club's been an awesome addition, because there's been years of talk of past players' days, and we should do this, we should do this, we should do this, and all of a sudden this year, and I think you've described it before as sort of the perfect storm with everything that happened last year. It was okay. Well, where's this going? All of a sudden, it's just gone bang. With nearly having 70 odd members, and the followship we've got on the Facebook page is brilliant. And it's not just a past players group. It's an all encompassing players group, and it's awesome how it's covering 70 years of cricket just at Preston for the players you've got that are in the group. So it's been a great initiative. But absolutely a sponsorship piece there as well.
Yeah. So you were president until 2016.
Yes.
Looking back over that period that you were president, what were some of the highlights, some of the initiatives, for example, that were introduced during that period?
I think some of the highlights were the premierships during the period. I think the fourth picked one up in 10-11. It was 14-15, correct me if I'm wrong there. It was 14-15, the threes picked up one. Some of the finals appearances during there as well, so it was really, really good. I think that it's just, again, the club evolved through. Again, it's the way that the club had to be resilient with the changes forced on us by Cricket Victoria, and the shift had to change, and the introduction of things like getting the bowling machine down. That was I think getting that along certainly helped the boys, and that was a great idea brought in by Ash when Ash was coach. He had his own bowling machine, and when Ash left and when he departed, getting the bowling machine, I thought, well, we've got to have one. It's something that the club needs. It's an asset. We never had it before. We had them when we were training, indoors during pre-season, but to actually have one at the club was great. So, I just think the club had to. The rise of the time, the more importance on the social media aspect. I think that sort of took off during my reign as president. So that's as important.
Yeah. So You've been vice president subsequent to your presidency, so you're still president. Tell me about some of the challenges the club faces in a very competitive VSDCA competition. You've got some clubs who, Q this year, loaded up with money, loaded up with good players, and they aren't on their Tom Malone, and this year wasn't unique in that sense. But just talk to me about some of the challenges.
I think that's a major challenge. Absolutely, I think Preston sitting where he sits, the community of Preston and the group of people that now live in Preston has certainly changed. We've got a lot of it's very much a mixture. You only need to go over the Preston market to have a look at the mixture of nationalities that reside in the municipality, and it's a lot of them aren't traditional cricket backgrounds.
Yes.
So it's not just, I don't think Preston's ever sort of just looked at Preston Reservoir for recruitment, but it's attracting people and it's getting people to Preston and providing them quality facilities and providing the players quality facilities, and then enabling them to the opportunity to push through, and the recruitment of those high caliber players is always a challenge. It's I think it's just the nature of the beast now that people want to play, and they want to bring their professional skills to play, but there's a cost involved. So
there's a cost, and it doesn't guarantee success.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. You can pay them. Sorry, you can pay. I'm sure clubs have paid to get quality players over, but at times, as you said, it just doesn't necessarily resonate for success. So,
yeah. So somehow or another through this, we have to keep adapting to Prestonise what we've got here to attract players, and importantly to retain players.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely, and I think it's probably one of it's where the likes of an 1860 club helps, because I think the current crop of boys, and they will if they don't know it already, they will realise that they are the current custodians of the Bullants name, and they are the representatives of the club, and that will continue forever, regardless of what they do and where they go. They'll always be Preston players. But I think a lot of them are being suddenly introduced to the fact that they're representing a club that's 160 years old, and that there were players who played before them, and having the past players around on a more frequent basis is only going to sort of assist them, because some of the training techniques and the coaching techniques have changed in my period of being at Preston, and and I'm sure they've changed since when you were playing, but the fundamentals of the game are still the same. You've got a bloke bowling the ball, and you've got to hit the thing and make a run.
Yes.
Or
get him out.
If you're bowling, you've got to get him out somewhere. So the fundamentals haven't changed.
No.
It's just the training techniques and those sort of bits and pieces have definitely changed.
And the club this year has had a very successful year. 3 of the 4 teams made finals, and it could have been a lot better with the outcomes, losing a protest in the 3s, and the 1s were pretty unlucky.
I'll leave that one outside off stump. I'll just let
that
go through the keeper.
But all in all, the committee's been very happy.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it's been a great year for the club. Seeing the ones, the ones have knocked on the door a couple of seasons. 2's pushed through to a grand final only a couple of seasons ago. So I think the momentum was there. The 3's have always been there and thereabouts and pushing finals. So to certainly see the 3 of the 4 teams through into finals this year, and then for the 2's to go on and pick up the first second 11 flag in 20 years is certainly a great achievement for the club. Absolutely.
Yes, and reflective of the announcement during the week that Luke Bromwich has been reappointed.
Lovely to see Bram back on and taking the reins for the second year.
So a lot of work now is taking place to set up for next year.
This is the fun bit with winter. It's 2021 season's finished and 21-22 season's now the focus, and that's recruitment, setting ourselves up, engaging with sponsors, and keeping the wheels ticking over winter, so that as we hit the AGM and then push through into pre-season, that we're hitting the ground running basically, which is where we need to be.
Excellent.
And hopefully improve.
Tell me a little bit about Seán. What do you do outside of work? I mean, I've been 55 years in insurance, so we won't talk about insurance.
I've been 24 years in workers' comp insurance.
Right. That's one term for murder, or the equivalent. 55 is two terms.
Yes, I won't argue with that.
So what do you do outside of work and cricket?
Outside of work and cricket, I'm secretary at the Doncaster Baseball Club.
Right.
So when I went to the States in 2014 for a holiday, I'd played a little bit of baseball, sort of earlier in the piece, around sort of 09-10. But I went over to the States and baseball was on. I didn't get to go, but it was on the telly and I started watching it again. I started itching to want to play baseball again. So my niece was over at Doncaster playing, and in winter 2015, for the winter season, I went over to Doncaster and started playing, and then ended up on the committee as secretary in 2018. So I've been secretary of Doncaster for the last 3 years or so now. So,
Okay.
So that's one thing that certainly keeps me occupied if it's not cricket stuff.
Yeah, I see from the Zoom calls in the background, there's a lot of memorabilia there and a lot of interest across a raft of sports.
Yeah, I like my V8 supercars. Right. Still bleed red fold, so I know the brand. I know the brand's been retired, but I still love Holden Racing Team and it's now Walkinshaw Andretti United, what it's called. Yeah. But still like the motor racing, and I do enjoy watching Australian rules football as well. Collingwood supporter. I'm not a lunatic Collingwood supporter, but I barrack for the Pies. So
and after such a long association with Preston, you're moving towards 30 years. What actually turns you on? What keeps you coming back?
I think it's just the connection with the people. It's the love of the place, and I do love the place. I think like everything at times it drives you mad, but you keep coming back. It's done a hell of a lot for me personally. There's stuff I've done for the club that I never would have envisaged I'd ever do. Whether it's dealing with council or the social media stuff, or clothing and ordering and designing clothing and trying social initiatives or whatever it might be, looking after social media. There's a lot of stuff that I don't think I'd ever have done had I not been here. It's a love. It's a love of the place. It's a love of Preston. Mum and Dad were both born and bred Preston, so it's sort of there's that association as well. That's and the people. The people. It's the place is nothing without the people, and across the journey, they've been bloody good people.
Fantastic. Well, you're a marvellous character, and on behalf of the 1860 members, we take our hats off to yourself and people like yourself who dedicate themselves to the club in such a way, and you've done obviously an outstanding job over a long period of time, and we hope it continues for another 10, 20, 30 years. Seán, you're young enough to do.
I'll quote Matty Staples, I think I'll be here for life. So.
We hope so. On that note, thank you very much.
Thanks, Luke. Thanks, mate.